honorable members of Pan-African Parliament, Your Excellencies, other invited guests, that as I call upon the guest of honor, His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, to deliver his speech, I also call upon you to rise. Thank you again. Take your seats. Thank you.
Acting President, honorable members, I'm deeply honored by this privilege to address the fourth ordinary session of the fifth Parliament of the Pan-African Parliament. And I'm grateful, Acting President, for your invitation to do so. And I thank honorable members for coming in your numbers to listen to me at this opening ceremony, COVID-19 notwithstanding. I acknowledge with gratitude the presence of the Right Honorable Speaker of the South African National Assembly, South Africa's distinguished Minister for the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, Right Honorable Speakers and representatives of parliaments and member states of the African Union, and the Dean and members of the Diplomatic Corps. It is entirely appropriate that the Pan-African Parliament should be located in South Africa, a country that has been in recent decades the bedrock of democratic consolidation of the African continent, and the birthplace of Africa's greatest fighter for freedom and democracy, Nelson Mandela. May his soul continue to rest in perfect peace in the bosom of the Almighty until the last day of the resurrection, when we shall all meet again. Amen. Acting President, honorable members, I have the honor to have been part of the birth of the Pan-African Parliament in 2004, some 17 years ago, when I was the then Foreign Minister of Ghana in the administration of His Excellency John Ajikun Kufuor, the second President of the Fourth Republic of Ghana. We had very high hopes for the growth of this institution to act as a continental parliament within the African Union, to promote the democratic aspirations of the African peoples. Acting President, I've taken note of the important concerns you've expressed about the functioning of the House, and I'm aware that plans are on course for the Bureau of the PAP and the Bureau of the PRC to meet soon to address these concerns. I know that within the AU structure, ultimately, these concerns will also be addressed by the Assembly of Heads of State and Government of the Union, where I'll have the opportunity to have my say. So I'll hold my peace until then. I will take this opportunity to thank the people and government of the Republic of South Africa for their continuing support for the operations of the Pan-African Parliament. Acting President, honorable members, I find myself very much at home here with you, having been for 12 consecutive years a member of Parliament for the Abuakwa and Abuakwa South constituencies in the eastern region of Ghana. Indeed, some of the most interesting times of my political life were in the Chamber of Parliament. Dare I say, that is where, with the help of colleagues, we did some of the work with long-lasting effect on the Ghanaian nation. I must admit that I do sometimes miss Parliament, especially the vigorous debates that ensue between members of both sides in Ghana's dynamic parliament. But I believe none of you here would begrudge me if I told you I prefer the position of president for obvious reasons. Acting President, honorable members, in our respective countries, we often underestimate the importance of Parliament and consequently undermine its work. We cannot emphasize enough the role of Parliament in exercising the checks and balances needed on the executive. We cannot emphasize enough the role of Parliament as the voice of the people. And we cannot emphasize enough the role of Parliament in setting the tone of public discourse in the country. It is for the good of our countries that parliaments of the continent develop the capacity to insist on accountability in all aspects of our lives, especially in our governance. For no institution is better suited to do this than the one composed of the representatives of the people. I am a strong believer in the work of Parliament, and as we strive to deepen continental integration and strengthen ties that exist between our respective countries, we should create room for our respective parliaments to learn from each other, and through that process, enhance the prospects of continental integration. It is one of the best ways to realize the objects of Agenda 2063 and help create the Africa we all want for in our time. Acting President, honorable members, the African Union has chosen arts, culture, and heritage, levers for building the Africa we want, as its theme for the year, which is extremely commendable. A continent is defined by many things. It is defined by its history to an extent. It is defined by its geography to an extent. It is defined by its economy to an extent. It is defined by many other things. However, nothing defines a continent more than the arts, culture, customs, heritage, and tradition, and its traditions. Aspiration 5 of Agenda 2063, which seeks, quote, an Africa with a strong cultural identity, common heritage, shared values and ethics, unquote, enjoins us to promote the history, identity, heritage, and consciousness of African peoples and their diaspora. It further encourages us to tap into Africa's rich heritage and culture to ensure that the creative arts are major contributors to Africa's growth and transformation. Even whilst we are proud of our history, our culture, and our arts, we must recognize the forces of change and modernization that are knocking insistently on our doors. Too often, modernization has been seen as synonymous with westernization. But modernization is not necessarily the same as westernization. As the experiences of the Asian tigers have shown, nations can modernize in their own way, borrowing from outside, whilst maintaining the essentials of their own culture. Today, Japan, for example, is a very successful modern nation, but it is not Western. The success or failure of our modernization will be determined largely by how well we preserve what is good about our culture, whilst modifying the aspects that no longer suit our needs. As we dedicate this year to the promotion of Africa's arts, culture, and heritage, against the background of increasing global expression of interest and investments in the sector, we should use the occasion to promote the patenting of Africa's creative design, to protect intellectual property, folklore, and traditional knowledge, and adopt other measures to protect us against counterfeiting and piracy. The Africa we want may never be realized if we turn our backs on our culture, customs, and heritage. Furthermore, to re-echo South Africa's foreign minister, we must intensify our efforts in retrieving our looted cultural treasures, which are being housed in the museums of the nations that stole them from us, and making money for them instead of for us. Come what may, whatever the obstacles, we must get them back. Encourage all others to emulate the notable examples of those countries which have committed themselves to the process of restoration. To this end, I had the honor 2 weeks ago to cut the soil for the construction of Pan-African World Heritage Museum near Winneba in the central region of Ghana, which is intended to house artifacts and cultural objects from all parts of the Pan-African world. When it opens its doors to the world, it will be a major contributor to our ability to imbibe a deep consciousness of the ideals and goals of Pan-Africanism. Acting President, honorable members, the overarching vision of Agenda 2063 is to transform Africa, quote, into the global powerhouse of the future, unquote. Whilst our numbers make us formidable in the world, and we possess the requisite resources, human and natural, needed for progress and prosperity, we still have some way to go towards realizing the objects of this noble agenda. Indeed, the realities confronting our respective countries are those guaranteeing accelerated sustainable development, the effective integration of our economies into the high end of the global value chain, the eradication of poverty and inequality, and the marginalization of our nations. If we are to succeed in these endeavors, our best bet is to be united. The oft-cited Ghanaian proverb, one broomstick on its own can be easily broken, but put together cannot be broken, should be our guiding principle. The threats of climate change, the phenomenon of illegal mass migration, and the scourge of armed conflicts, terrorism, and violent extremism can be met head-on and defeated if we act together. One thing the pandemic of COVID-19 has taught all of us is that we must hasten the process of regional and continental integration, because acting together will boost our capacity to succeed. From our inability to make our own diagnostic tests, to the scramble for vaccines, and to the shocks our respective economies have suffered, resulting in a recession of the continent, it is obvious that we need each other, and more so in combating the COVID-19 pandemic. We must encourage South Africa, Rwanda, Senegal, Ghana, and others to develop the capacity to produce our own vaccines so that we can more effectively deal with future pandemics and not be dependent on foreign supplies and benevolence for the protection of our peoples. It is the accelerated economic integration of committed nations on the continent that will breathe new life into the African Union and deliver the benefits of African integration to the doorsteps of the African peoples. One critical instrument for the realization of this is the African Continental Free Trade Area, whose trading commenced on 1st January. Ghana has had the good fortune to be awarded the honor of hosting the Secretariat of the AFCFTA. Acting President, honorable members, we have always lamented the low volume of trade between the countries on the continent, which currently stands at some 16% of our combined GDP. And yet we all know that this is one of the areas in which we have to improve if we are to make progress in bringing prosperity to our peoples. Intra-regional trade in the European Union, for example, stands at 75% of theirs. It is my belief that the operation of the AFCFTA, comprising a market of some 1.2 billion people, with a combined GDP of $3 trillion United States dollars, marks a seminal moment in changing the way business is conducted among our nations. It provides a vehicle for us to to trade amongst each other in a more modern and sophisticated manner, and will give us the test on how we deal with other trading blocs. We in Ghana are very happy to host the Secretariat, and we look forward to serve as the instrument through which doors are opened for African nations to trade with each other and remove the barriers that currently limit our interaction. It is unacceptable that young African entrepreneurs would instinctively look to Europe for openings, whereby nearby Ghana or Nigeria or Senegal or Kenya or South Africa might provide a better market, and vice versa. I'm sure you all know that the best chocolates in the world, bar none, are produced in Ghana, but then we also do not know all your hidden secrets. Acting President, honorable members, it is time to get to know each other, to visit each other, to learn from each other, and if need be, to criticize each other and look out for each other. It is time, my dear brothers and sisters, for us to transform our countries and bring prosperity to our peoples. We cannot continue to live in the continent as the majority of what is left of the world's remaining minerals, and yet has the poorest people in the world. We still not have rich oil fields that make millionaires and billionaires of outsiders, whilst too many of our peoples live in abject poverty. Every time the talk turns to poverty on our continent, my thoughts go to the report of the committee chaired by the eminent South African statesman, the former president of South Africa, His Excellency Thabo Mbeki, which shows the amount of wealth that is illegally siphoned out of Africa systematically, estimated on the average to be presently 80 billion United States dollars a year. Then I could see that people will continue to make money out of our resources when we have not developed the expertise needed to exploit these natural resources ourselves. What is unconscionable, however, is that we continue to take monies from our countries into these developed countries when we should be spending the money developing our own countries. It is time to marshal our combined voices and say Africa deserves better, and Africans should not take part in impoverishing our continent and her peoples. The importance of us establishing a solid foundation for the progress and prosperity of the continent is borne out in the fact that by 2050, Africa will be home to a quarter of the world's population. She'll have more than half of the working age population and potentially have a GDP of some 29 trillion United States dollars. It is obvious that we have a major contribution to make to the growth of world civilization and global stability. A stability that will reflect our determination to preserve the integrity of our environment and respond with urgency to combat successfully the effects of climate change. We have it within us, within our power, to transform our economies and bring prosperity to our peoples. Let us join together to make it possible within our generation, and let us work together towards fulfilling in our time the Pan-African dream of a united Africa, which was so eloquently articulated by Ghana's first president, Kwame Nkrumah, in the early years of independence. Tomorrow, 25th May, is Africa Day. May God bless Southern Africa and us all. Acting President, honorable members, I thank you very much for your attention. I wish you successful elections and fruitful deliberation.